Okay, what I have here is a very basic project, and we're going to talk about sequencing and sequencers and how that term can actually refer to two different flavors of something. And this applies to all DAWs. It doesn't require any specific DAW, but this concept is prevalent throughout the community, whether you're using Reaper, Ableton, Studio One, etc. So I've got a track here at the top here. This is just a drum kit. There's nothing in this track to play that drum kit. And if I start the master sequencer, the main sequencer of Ableton, let's say I hit play, I'm not going to hear anything because let's just say the drummer's not in the room. So there's no performance information happening. Now, I have two choices, two main choices of how I can get performance information to play a drum kit. One way is I could play it in on a MIDI controller and record that data, or I could import a file or create a file. So maybe we'll say three different ways. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a drum pattern by hand, and I'm going to do that making a blank clip here. So again, this blank clip, the drummer's not in the room yet. The drum kit is still sitting there. And now we're going to pretend like the drummer actually did something. And we're just going to come down here and do something really insanely simple. And we're going to go boom, ching. Let's say boom, ching, boom, ching. Okay. And maybe we'll run some hi-hats across here. Okay, now the master sequencer of Ableton is running right now. And in this case, I can see exactly what's happening with the performance information and how that performance information is being performed. And I know that it's going through this 808 core kit, which in Ableton would be listed down here. So this is where all my sounds are actually stored. As I still play this on track one, I can see all of these samples triggering down here. Okay, and that information is available here. Now, if I want to print that performance as an audio performance, that's a separate step. We're not going to do that right now. But what I want to turn our attention to is another way to sequence drums, and you may have similar functions in many apps using VSTs or plugins. And in Ableton, I have this thing here on track 2. This is called Drum Niche, and this is part of a probability pack. And what they do is they provide a sequencer as part of this device. You can see right here, sequence, and here's the sequence. This is a canned sequence that came with this. And I'm going to mute our first drum track we just played with, and I'm going to keep this on here for the second track. And we'll listen to what this drum niche does now. Okay, in this case, the performance information is not happening up here on the timeline in the master sequencer. In this case, the performance information is happening down here in this plugin. This is what a lot of folks sometimes will miss when they're trying to find out, well, where are these signals coming from and how do I manage them? So this is fundamentally different in that the sequence, the performance information, is embedded here. Now this is just the canned sequence. I could change this and, you know, whatever, change that if I want to. We're not going to mess with that right now. We're just going to leave it as the canned sequence. But then the question becomes, well, how do I get that sequence? How do I get that anywhere that I could do anything with it? Maybe I want to edit it. Maybe I want to chop it up. Maybe I want to render it through something else. And we can see the performance information is here, and then the sounds that it's using are over here on the right. So we have a chord, glitch 2, all this stuff on the probability pack down here on the right. That's the actual drum kit. So we can see here that the drum kit, in this case, is over here, probability pack. We could actually swap that drum kit out for our 808 kit that we used before. And now let's see what happens. Okay. So performance information didn't change. We're still here on drum niche. I've got the first drum track we played with muted, so everything we're hearing right now is drum niche, and the sequence is embedded here. The sequence is still not on the master timeline. So if we wanted to leave it like this, we could, but we would have some caveats here. We wouldn't have the ability to manipulate the sequences easily. There's a lot of reasons we might want to be able to physically move this sequence around, and in that case, what we might want to do is record on this track, arm our track, and or arm this track and record. Okay. You can see that's not actually going to work. We're not going to capture that information because it's playing it from the same track. So you can't play and record on the same track like that. So what I have here then is our drum niche playing MIDI information to create a sequence. That is going through our drum kit, and then as that passes through this channel, it's turning itself into audio. And we know that because when we look at this track here, we can see, actually if I go back here, it's even easier to see. We could see that we've got a MIDI channel starting out, but this MIDI is coming from the devices in here, and then the audio is going right to the master. So by the time it comes out of this channel, this is actually audio that's coming out of here. So then what we need to do is, if we want to capture this information, in this case, what I've got to do is I've got to create another audio track. And I'm going to do that here, create an audio track. I'm going to grab this audio from drum niche, and I'm going to go ahead and arm that track. So this track here, we're going to call this our capture track. Okay. Now, when I have this armed, I'm going to record, and I'm going to capture the audio. Okay, and we can see that here, that's actually audio. And if I mute my original performance here, we could play this back. So there's our sequence that's being played through the drum machine presets and getting captured as audio here. Now you might be asking, isn't there a way to capture the actual MIDI of that device? There is. Okay, in this example, I'm going to show a sequence that is going to be purely MIDI that we're going to be able to capture. It's a little bit different than the other plugin I used. So in this case, I'm using Bijou, which is a probability-based sequencer, and I'm just going to use the default settings. And I've got that playing through an electric piano. So this is what that sounds like right now. Okay. So again, the performance information is embedded right now, and it's different every time. This is using some probabilities, and there's never going to be the same number of notes at the same time, playing the same pitches within the parameters of how I've got this set. So if I want to capture those notes in some way, I've actually got to create an additional track so that I can grab those MIDI notes. And that's what I did here. I've got a MIDI track here, and the MIDI from on this track is being selected as this electric piano track, which is back here. So this track is going to play the MIDI only from this track is going to be captured by here. And we'll rename this as capture. Capture. And then I'm going to arm that track. So now when I play this time, and I have the track armed, I'm going to hit the record on the master sequencer. Now we can see those notes coming through. So now the notes that have been playing through Bijou, through this piano, have been captured as MIDI, and we can see the MIDI right here. And then we can manipulate this, move stuff around, and we can also then manipulate this within the master sequencer here. We can duplicate this out. If we want to duplicate it out, we can edit it. We could move notes around, whatever we want to do. Now we've got that, and we actually don't even need the original anymore. Now the only thing is, if the point of this was to do something that evolved and changed a lot with something that had probability, right now I'm locked into what these notes are going across here. So these notes here are going to be the same no matter what, because that's what I captured. The other thing is I've got to be sure that I give this a device to play these notes through. Right now there's no device to play these notes through. So if I want to use that same electric piano, I can go over here and grab that electric piano and put that here. And now I can play that back just as if it was playing for the first time. But now I've got these notes, and I can continue to play around with this using different sound patches or different instruments if I want to. So the key thing here with both of these examples that I just went over is that the master sequencer in Ableton, what you're looking at when you open Ableton or any other DAW, that master sequencer is one way to capture notes and work with the timeline. When you're using plugins or additional sequencers that might have their own note generating capability, they should be clocked to the master sequencer, but getting those notes or getting that audio out of those components might take a couple extra steps just because of the way that they're set up. So that's what we have for today. Thanks for watching.